Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing Ninja Gaiden 3 Razor's Edge on the PC, and this is my Ultimate Ninja Difficulty Gaiden walkthrough. We're currently on day 4 of 8, and this is the first fight. It takes place in the Dynamo arena from the original Ninja Gaiden. So on this, it's difficult to accumulate enough ki to use the Inferno here. So one thing that you can do, instead of shooting the flyers propane tanks and dropping them outside of the arena, if you shoot them dead center and allow them to drop into the arena, the enemy will remain instead of just despawning, and then that way you can use that potential enemy for more ki buildup, because if you do drop those flyers outside of the arena, you don't get any karma, and you don't get any potential to get ki off of them if they're not even anywhere in the arena. So I was able to get the Inferno up, but it was just good situational happenings over here, because sometimes fortune favors you. It doesn't often in this game, but if you want, as an alternative, it's quite easy to get the void built up. You can build that up really quickly. The only problem with that is it doesn't auto target like the Inferno does, and you'll have to very precisely manually target. And if you are a good shot, that's fantastic, but I'm not, and I often miss my void throws at these choppers. But that's just if you want to go for the choppers with the Nimpo. But we do at this point just have enough to purchase the true Inferno. So we were able to purchase it a little sooner than I thought. So now that we have it, we can focus on upgrading other weapons and such. Strangely, this fight over here has a very low requirement for health. You'll notice when this fight ends that I believe I get an S rank in health, and my health was I can't remember what it was, but I know that I've got S ranks for health having like 50% health. So it's an oddball one for sure, because normally, as you may know, you need about 98% or more health intact to get the S rank for health. But on that first fight, you're probably, if you're anything like me, you're probably sick of having to simultaneously fight enemies on the ground and in the air. It's awkward, and it's difficult, and it's really easy to get hit and have everything just get screwed up from your attempts to deal with both sets of circumstances at the same time. So yeah, my health was pretty high there, but believe me, that fight is peculiar, and you'll get the S rank for health if you have low health. There's the SCARAB, and then we have the second fight with the Regent. Now that we have our level 3 weapon, we should be doing him some considerable damage. I'm not just going to 360Y spin attack him, although you can, and it's very effective. He does have a 2-hit grab, though, that he can sometimes pull out of thin air, so you need to really be careful about that. And one great way to evade that is with the Cicada Surge, which I don't believe I've had the opportunity to buy yet. I think it costs, don't quote me, but I think it costs 200,000. And if I'm not mistaken, did I just do a counterattack there and I did him no damage? If that happens again, because I think I did parry him a couple of times, but if I'm seeing no damage coming out those counterattacks, that's disappointing. Yeah, it looks like my counterattack missed, and I did an X counterattack, because I know what the Y counterattack looks like. He launches himself up into the air. So the counterattacks are extremely disappointing in this game. risk versus reward has just no place with these counterattacks, has no relevance whatsoever with them, because they often miss, and they're very risky to do. They leave you very vulnerable, and it's just strange that everything that worked so well in the previous games just went out the window with this game. And this is the revision to a game that was already in poor shape. I mean, how else can you say it? They were trying to fix what they started. But in this room over here, you've got a very cramped environment, and you have ghosts to fight. I'll probably upgrade the lunar, because I like the lunar. It's got some just wonderful OTs and flamboyant eviscerations and things like that. And if you do want to upgrade that weapon, that's a good one to do. The Kasari Gamma 2, try to upgrade that to level 2 as well, because it does have a good forward Y attack that can delim the sword alchemists. So there's that. And then coming in here now, we have yet another fight where we have enemies on the ground and above. And I don't particularly like this fight, just because there are a lot of the rocket launcher guys to deal with. And this lunar, it looks really ugly on level 1. It's the most basic thing you can imagine, but it does get more interesting looking and better looking as you upgrade it. And I just love its OTs, and I really like the collision that you can do. Okay, I decided to activate the True Inferno, and I think my rationale here was I was trying to see if I didn't press anything to try to speed that up, later I could maybe compare or contrast if, when I did that again, if I tap the Y and B button again. Because remember when I mentioned that you can more quickly cast Nimpo if you press YB again after pressing YB? I was trying to test it, and I did isolate some pieces of footage of me doing the True Inferno Nimpo and just casting it, pressing nothing, and then casting it on another instance and pressing YB again, and also just trying to hold Y and B, because I didn't know maybe if you had to hold it or something, maybe it sped it up too. But I don't think you can speed it up, and that's kind of unfortunate, because it's like nearly a 10-second animation. Or, I mean, I don't think it's an animation per se, but it's sort of like a little cutscene that lasts about 10 seconds. So I'm not going to be skipping, or excuse me, I'm not going to be editing those out, but just bear in mind that they are lengthy. And this fight over here, you're going to have rocket launcher guys, you're going to have flyers, you're going to have all manner of folks over here, I think, save for the pirates. So that's always good, because I don't particularly care for the pirates. It would be interesting if, instead of having to buy a flying swallow, which is rather lame in the first place, it'd be nice if you can buy an upgrade that would allow you to bypass with skill. I'm not just saying bypass the the pirates, how you have to deal with how they break your chain. It would be interesting if you could buy an upgrade that you could prevent your chain from getting broken by maybe some skillful pressing of a button at the proper moment when you are counterattacking and steel on boning those pirates. Wouldn't that be a little bit more interesting than having to buy a wind path or a flying swallow or anything like that. Just shake things up a little bit more. Because it is a drag to have that enemy do that. And I think it would be a lot more interesting. It would be a lot more involving for the player, and having I don't know, just it would make things a little more interesting, and have the player be responsible for bypassing that, because I don't think just buying an upgrade would be as satisfying as buying an upgrade that just would prevent him from doing that chain breaking ability that he has, because then anybody could just buy it, and then if it could be a skill that you bought and then you had to practice and get good at, and it would, you'd be rewarded for it, that'd be a lot better. Anyway, coming up over here we have a save point, and then we're going to be doing a couple of fights. By the way, in that last transition back there, you might have seen the the numbers that came up for my bonus, but you might not have been able to see the score. I did get 2 S's on that previous fight. Now coming in here, we have a pair of fights that are on the same checkpoint, and I did go ahead and upgraded my. I decided to upgrade the Jinran Maru to level 2, but that's not going to be until after the Test of Valor that's coming up, because I don't feel comfortable using that weapon unless I can at least Azuna drop. But we should have some fights with the laboratory creatures coming up, some more of them. And one weapon that I would like to upgrade and experiment with more, and I'm going to, is the Lunar, because it's a weapon that does force you to play differently. And I've been playing a certain way thus far in the campaign for the benefit of earning the most karma, but the Lunar has a good amount of delim capabilities to it. These enemies over here are I'm not sure what their name is, but you can Azuna drop them if you want to. Just remember to always finish them up with OTs. You get a nice checkpoint before and after this fight, and after this really easy section with these guys, you're gonna have another fight in this exact room, and you don't have to kill all of the enemies. At some point after, I don't know, you kill a dozen or so of these guys, it's going to transition you out of here. And if I were you, I would try to leave this fight with as much Nimpo as possible, because the acid pit fight in the next coming moments, you are going to be losing health, and there's a Reaper that you have to fight. I don't think I fight him because I cast the True Inferno when he comes out, and I planned it in such a way that when I killed him, I killed the last couple of these creatures that are down there with him. So only thing I would caution you against is to not use the True Inferno too early, because then all the enemies can pile up on you. I find the Chimera is more trickier than the Brutes. So how I do the Brutes is I use the Scythe on them primarily. I'm most comfortable using the Scythe, and I just do X attacks on them. And at some point, they're going to guard break your attack, like right there. And what you can do is you can use the cicada surge, or you can use, and I'll get more into that once we actually have that, but once your scythe bounces off them, what you want to do is evade away from them and then evade back to them when they flash red, and that will prevent you from, getting grabbed, as long as you have no issues, with the frame rate or any recovery frames that you might be responsible for. But the trick is to bide your time long enough so that you can accrue as much Nimpo as possible, because the Reapers, which this enemy is over here, it's an enemy that has two phases. It's got that head phase at first. You shoot it with the bow several times, and then it comes down. And then it has a lot of guard breaking and guard crushing moves. It is not enough that you block. I mean, that goes for almost all of this game. Blocking is just not good enough. Enemies just go right through it. You get demolished. But we'll be fighting that enemy many times. And all you really have to do on that enemy, once you drop him out of his mask form, is to just wait for him to flash red and parry his attack, and that will put him into OT status. That transition right there was sort of a capture fail. When I'm recording this game, sometimes the game, it doesn't crash, but it just locks up and it freezes, and I have to wait like 10 or 15 seconds for the game to like catch up, and during that time it's frozen, and it just ruins a session essentially. But I'm playing this game with a RTX 4090, and the only thing I can think of is that I am recording in 4K at pretty good quality, but I am recording right to an SSD, so I'm not really sure what the problem is. Should I blame the game, or is it my system? Oh, this part over here was really bothering me. I was because the thing is, sometimes I want to stop playing for a while, and every time I do stop playing and walk away and do something else and come back, I always worry that the game is going to have crashed, or my PC maybe restarts when I don't want it to. And if that ever happens, this game not having an autosave, you have to go way back to wherever you manually saved it last. So my issue over here was, I just wanted to get to the save point and have done with it and just move on with what I was doing, on that particular time of the day. I didn't want to leave the game on. I just wanted to have done with it. So I decided the best way to have done with it on this particular section is to, to whore UTs as much as possible. But that is my favorite throw, the underworld drop with this weapon. I love that so much. So when you have the Jinran Maru up to level 2, or I'm not sure about the dual swords, but the Azuna drop combo, it's X, Y, X, 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 Y. When you're inputting that, if you press forward, I believe it's forward, you might be able to press the analog left or right, but as long as you're pushing the analog forward in some way, he will do the underworld drop. And you might have noticed that as you come off this, it puts you into a position where you can get an on-landing charge from it, the same way you can with an Azuna drop. Okay, so the bird flies away. We can't save it. We have to fight 4 more of these damn brutes down here. And I don't have, much health, and these guys can just hit me really easily and kill me. And this ended up getting to the point where I was just really worried about this, so I decided to, if I had to, just use Nimpo real quick on any sort of emergency, which that was. But it doesn't give you very much back, and I know we're just killing one enemy, but it really is a pity that you get so little back for health. But I guess it is offset by, the steel on bones. You're always getting fed health that way back. So that is, that's something. I think there is one more of these guys. Nope. Okay. We did all we needed to do. Thank God. Now we can save it. It really needs an autosave, though. It needs a manual save, or at least some way to repeatedly, because you can only use the bird one time and then that's it. It's kind of a shame that way. There's an optional area over here as well, and there are some pretty challenging fights. Anytime you're dealing with these enemies, you're potentially in for a difficult time, because they really hit hard, and if you don't do UTs on these enemies, it's very challenging to deal with them. I did upgrade my let's see, what did I upgrade? Oh, the recovery frames are really crucial to get past on these enemies. So I did upgrade the well, I didn't upgrade anything. I purchased the Cicada Surge. So with that, you expend key to do an iframes evasion, and it's just one of those kind of trade-offs. And what you can do is you can map it to whatever button you like, but I believe the basic input for it is when you're blocking, if you press the A button, he will do that move, and you can transition from that move directly into a steel on bone. So if you are fighting these enemies and you're just not having enough time to avoid them and counterattack them, try the Cicada Surge. I just demonstrated it right there, and I think it was either 100,000 or 200,000. I think it was 100,000 though. But that's the only thing I upgraded as well. At the end of the chapter, I do upgrade my Lunar, because I do feel that the Lunar is an extremely fun weapon to use, and I'm going to be using a lot more of it coming up, as well as this weapon. This is a great weapon. It's a Kasari Gama. But I was on this part, and I was just trying to, partake in it, and without overusing the UTs. I used the UTs, but, I was trying to focus more on using the Cicada Surge and doing my, steel on bones that way, and going up to them, hitting them enough to trigger them to try to grab me and avoid their grab and go into the steel on bone. And I have to say that these enemies are very challenging enemies. They really are. And here I'm trying to, I think, just work on these zombie-like creatures as well. And there is a longish fight coming up. I don't know if you would call it a gauntlet. It probably qualifies as a gauntlet. But it's not going to matter how much key that you get there with. And it's not, your health is irrelevant too, because there's a save falcon right before. So that's going to give you full health anyway. But what's going to be coming up is a fight in a room just like this one. It might even be in this room. But if it's not, it's very similar to this room. And the reason I say, don't worry about the key is that there are so many of the of the lesser terrorist enemies that you can do steel on bones on and accrue a hell of a lot. I imagine that if you had no key and you were trying to build up the True Inferno, you probably could build up the True Inferno by the time you're done with the alchemists. So I'm going to get there with full key, but just realize that, not full key probably, but most of the key. And what it is, it's a bunch of the terrorist enemies, a couple of ground-based archers, alchemists, reapers, and then more terrorists. So there are a lot of enemies on this part. It's very lucrative actually for getting a lot of karma. And let me see. The lunar is so helpful for the alchemist as well. On this quick time event, it's just moving the analog left and right and tapping X. You don't have to take damage there if you do it quickly enough. But here is the room, and I am going to just use my tried and true method of delimbing one of the lesser enemies and then doing steel on bones off of him, to a maximum of 4 ideally, if I can grab everybody. It's not likely you're going to miss though with the reach that this weapon has and the smallishness of this room. So you can block the rockets, but it guard breaks you as well. I'm sorry I don't have a different type of strategy for the alchemists. I just don't enjoy fighting them, and I think that the move that you can do, I'll show you, and I've mentioned it before, the UT where you start up by hitting and stunning the enemy before you charge, because all you do on this game is cold charges pretty much, excepting for any time that you're jumping and landing and getting it on landing. I guess that wouldn't be a cold charge necessarily. But at this point, you'll have the alchemists. That was not a good idea. Wasting the this was fine. I wanted to use the True Inferno, but using the Scythe UT on alchemists is not very good. I'm not sure how many alchemists we killed from them. Probably 3, and there's maybe 6 of these guys. But this weapon is so good, and this move in general, pressing Y and then holding Y, it's such a good move because they can't retaliate against it, and it's really helpful. So I did use the True Inferno, and I decided not to use it on the Reapers, probably because I was trying to accumulate it, but it just, it takes a lot of ki to build it up, and the Reapers are going to spawn after this. The only thing that there's several things that I don't like about the Reapers. They have too many guard crushing moves that when you're just blocking, it's not sufficient. You get hit and you get staggered, you get a lot of damage on you. But with the Reapers, so after those alchemists, there's a couple of these guys, so you can continue building up your ki. And I'm not sure if the difficulty dictates how many of these Reapers there are. You just gotta really hope for the best when you're dealing with these guys, because they have so much HP that it's almost pointless to try to kill them with just standard hits, because it's going to take forever. And what you're counting on with them is, that's kind of awkward. If you kill one of the Reapers, then you have a couple more of these enemies here, these fodder enemies with the rocket launcher guy. But sometimes the Reapers don't play ball, so to speak. What happens is, because all you need to do is just stand next to him and wait till he flashes, and then either just press Y or evade and press Y like I prefer to do. And sometimes, though, you're just hanging around them for what seems like an eternity, and they don't flash red. And it's those times when they're attacking so wildly, and you've got extra things to worry about in the fight if something else has not been dealt with. But yeah, all you do is just wait for that. And it's they're kind of fussy about sometimes they really play ball, and sometimes they don't. The fight's not over yet, though. The door is going to open. I don't know if you get I don't think you get a checkpoint yet, but you have to go into this area over here before your rank comes up. So be really careful over here. Fall back, and maybe I was trying to bait them into doing this. I always have a hard time getting the time. I got a D on the time. That was really bad. How fast do they expect you to do that? That's kind of ridiculous. But this sequence over here, I think it's just these guys. So this is potentially carbon copy and paste of the first Grip of Murder. So when it's just these guys, like, these guys are absolutely nothing. And yes, I would, if you're going to use the True Inferno, use it early so that you can more or less fill it up. If you want to use the True Inferno on the boss, I don't think it takes that much away from it. But primarily what you want to use the key for is to fill your health out midway, because you get a checkpoint on the boss. So after you do get the checkpoint, if you have damage on you, you can nullify it, or at least do your best to nullify it by using the meditation and giving yourself health from your key. And if you have, that's why you want the True Inferno, because it has the most amount of key. The pool of it, you can hold so much of it. Because it takes a lot to fill yourself out as well. And then on the boss, if you want to use the 360Y with the scythe, you're going to wreck the boss. You're going to just absolutely destroy it. And you'll probably do accidental steel on bones when you're doing that. It's a fight where the first segment, it's going to introduce you to the different phases of it. When you cut off and it's basically a kind of a tutorial about counterattacking from their grabs. But the scythe has a lot of recovery, so I would try. Oh, on these, you have to hold in the left trigger and rock the left analog stick back and tap X at the same time. So there's a lot of dexterity required there. But I don't remember the order of these forms over here, but we'll shortly see. It starts right over here, and for this first phase, and the order is always the same, by the way. So that was an accidental steel on bone right there. When you do cut off its arms and you're in this phase, you don't need to worry about hitting it, because you will deal her damage, but the only thing that you need to do to make the fight progress to phase 2 is to just do 3 counterattacks with this weapon. This serpent chimera form is really hard, because its horizontal swings are guard crushing moves. That was another accidental one right there. And then the third phase is the fists, and it's very aggressive. She also does that when she has the fist. She does that brute attack where she rolls across the screen. If that ever hits you, you're as good as dead. But definitely avail yourself of the Cicada Surge, because that is, you know, yes, it's. I kind of resent the fact that you have to use key for it, but it is so helpful to do that. Okay, so this is the checkpoint. Notice I had a good amount of damage, so I filled out my health as much as I could. And then here's phase 2. The only difference about this phase is that the forms switch up. And a really good weapon. She doesn't take the UTs, but except for one weapon, the Kasarigama can damage her and cut off limbs with its UTs. It's really good for that, but it is difficult to get off charges with with all the things that she's doing. And that's the boss. You'll fight this enemy a lot, and they overuse it for sure. But if you are having issues, just do the 360Y with the scythe, and keep an eye on your Cicada Surge so that you don't try to do it when you don't have key. That's the worst time, because then you get penalized for it. But she's very aggressive when she has these fists, and pretty much every move that she does either guard breaks you or guard crushes you. So see how good this Cicada Surge is right there? It's fantastic. And when she has the snake arms, she also does the poison. So be careful about that. It's very damaging. And then after the fight, there's just a couple of quick time events, and there's one sequence where you're running through a laboratory area, and you're asked. And again, like when you were running from the dinosaur in the last video, don't do any extra like wall runs or jumps or anything like that. Just ignore what I'm doing, and just go left and right. Avoid the zombies as you try to make it through the doors. It's pretty generous about letting you slide under the door. But there's day 4 cleared. I will see you in day 5. And until then, please take care.